Hey everyone, I hope everyone is having a good week. We have Facebook here, we have Instagram here. So, however, you are joining us today, hello. So, I wanted to talk about toxins because we do have the detox coming up. So, a lot of the practice members have already heard me talking about it. So, we're just going to go a little bit deeper in it. I think detoxification is a lifestyle, so it's not just one big detox and you're all good, but it's working to minimize toxins all throughout your life. But the second detox, we did one in January. We had fantastic results. The second one is coming up next month. We're going to start the beginning of August, so we'll be getting stuff ordered soon. So I just want to talk about common ways that we are introduced to toxins, because when I talk to a lot of people, when I talk about it, they say, "Oh, well, I follow the paleo diet or I do low carb, so I'm good, I'm healthy." And while that is fantastic and diet is important, and I preach a ton about diet in my office, it's not the only way we're exposed. So, completing a detox and working on detoxification becoming your lifestyle is still extremely important. So I'm torn between two views when it comes to talking about toxins. One is that I think it's extremely important to know ways that you're exposed without that becoming a new stressor in your life, causing other health issues. But then at the same time, I do think people should be aware of common ways that we're exposed in the abundance of exposure that we have. So, with that said, we're going to just take a deep breath in, and we're not going to become overwhelmed with all of this information. If it resonates with you, work on changing it. If it does not resonate with you, it's okay. We're going to put it aside and you can come back when you're ready for it. With anything detox related and it being a lifestyle, it takes time to change. And I understand it can be expensive to throw everything out. So as you finish with one product, replace it with a healthier option or a cleaner option. It doesn't have to be, let me go in overnight and completely change my entire lifestyle. And it hasn't been that for me. I'm still learning. I probably really started looking into toxins when 4 years ago, when I started having eczema and started reading labels, and was just eye open. And it still is. So I just completed a week long detox summit, and a lot of it I knew, a lot of it I didn't know, and it was new learning for me and different ways to think about incorporating that into my life. So we'll just dive in here. Um, so there's literally toxins all around us. A lot of it we can't avoid. So the stuff we can take control of, we should work on um, changing. Hi, Shelby. Um, so we'll what's in our control is what we'll focus with. And a lot of this that I'm going to talk about today has been big in my life that we're going to talk about. So there's pesticides in our foods, there's toxins and heavy metals in beauty products, vaccines contain heavy metals. Our lifestyle habits can introduce us into different toxins. Then there's environmental pollutants, a lot of which are out of our control. But and there's toxins in our water. So taking back what we can control is important in combating the toxins so that you don't have a buildup in your body that then later translates into major health issues. So I read this statistic that the average individual has over 700 industrial chemicals in your blood supply, and infants have up to 70. That's a lot of toxicity, and then we wonder why America is so sick. Um, there are 80,000 to 85,000 chemicals that are approved for use in the US, but only 200 have actually gone through safety testing or even subjected to any kind of testing. So that's a little bit scary. There are tons of toxins in the food additives, the pesticides, the drugs we take, the pollutants in our body. And the things with these toxins is your body is going to do its best to get the toxins out of the blood supply so that it's not going and circulating to your major organs. So where it usually gets deposited, if it's not excreted, is in your adipose tissue or your fat cells. and it'll just accumulate, and then you'll start having health issues that you feel like came out of nowhere and it really didn't. It was just building long term. So being proactive, taking small steps and changes is really going to benefit you now, but even more so down the road too. So the you do have mechanisms in your body that filter, like your liver and your kidneys, but sometimes when you have such a toxic load, your body just needs a little bit of help. And learning the warning signs, and when to take action is important. So one of the most common, and I know my people have been bombarded about pesticides and food choices, but I really do think it's important. So one of the first, Shelby, you're so sweet. I miss you. One of the most important things about detoxification and the easiest is avoidance. So avoiding ways that we come in contact with it is huge, and part of that is our food. Um, so in the US, there are several billion pounds of pesticides and herbicides that are sprayed on our crops every year. So when we ingest it, it causes disruptions like leaky gut, like inflammation. Gut dysbiosis is linked to play or believed to play a huge role in autoimmune conditions as well as chronic issues. When our crops are sprayed, it's not just affecting the crops, it's affecting the air, the water supply, the soil, and a lot of, besides being toxic with the herbicides and pesticides, they also contain heavy metals like copper, lead, arsenic, and other metals that are known hormone disruptors, and just they disrupt everything. So there's a new chemical that was just approved by the EPA, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but I'm going to try, sulfoxaflor, that has been approved to use on crops, and they're going to use it on citrus, corn, soybeans, strawberries, pineapples, and pumpkins. And it is an insecticide that is highly toxic to bees. So there's a lot of arguments going on with that right now because the bee population is dying off. So we also know that the more pesticides we use, the more resistant the pests are. So what's the solution? We just spray it with more pesticides. So I I'm sure, I'm not gonna say I'm sure because some people maybe haven't, but there is a, a thing called the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen, and it is good when you're trying to use as a guide for what to buy organic versus what you can probably get away with and save money. So it is, when they were testing, the Clean 15 had less than 4 pesticides. The Dirty Dozen was loaded. So the Clean 15, you're probably going to be all right if you don't buy it organic. The Dirty Dozen is what you want to try to buy organic to limit the amount of pesticides in it. So the Environmental Working Group, sometimes called EWG, they found that 70% of our produce was contaminated with over 178 different pesticides and residues after the produce had been washed, cleaned, and peeled. So how many of you really wash? I will admit I have been bad about, I'll run it underwater, but I don't soak it in vinegar or, let it soak for a minute on each thing that I buy because I'm lazy and time restraints, right? So even though they've been peeled, they still have high amounts of toxins. So there's tons of charts that you can find as far as the Dirty Dozen go and the Clean 15, and it's just a good guide when you're shopping. Heavy metals like mercury, aluminum, lead, nickel, even mercury amalgam tooth fillings can be huge problems for people and lead to health conditions that they wouldn't even associate with that mercury amalgam filling. Heavy metals can be found in our food. It can be found in our water, our air supply, household cleaners. It actually competes for your minerals and your cofactors. It disrupts your hormones and it depletes your antioxidants. So I could go way into heavy metals, but they're just bad. One area that we really have control over is our cleaning products. And again, this is all I've learned in the last couple of years, and I'm still replacing and filling. But when I started looking at ingredients, and you can get a bottle of the average cleaning supply and you look at those crazy names that you don't even know how to pronounce, are you really cleaning and doing yourself, a service? So the EPA reported that the inside of our homes are actually 2 to 5 times more toxic than the air outside. So that is because of the cleaning supplies we use, the air filters dirty air filters, air fresheners, sorry, candles. That was a big one for me because I like my smelly candles, but they're actually pretty toxic. Um, Smoke, the paints, the carpets actually emit stuff that are kind of toxic. So there are things you can do to make your house, your home less toxic. Some of them are the cheaper end, like there's certain essential oils that you can diffuse that within 30 minutes to an hour they actually filter out toxins. And there's, again, some people go crazy and put a whole air filtration in their house, and if you have the finances to do that, that's fantastic. And if you don't, there are things you can do to help prevent with it. There is actually such a thing called sick building syndrome. So it's usually corporate buildings or hotel rooms where the air is really recirculated, that people have issues, especially people dealing with Lyme or mold or any chronic health condition. They may feel like they get worse or their symptoms exacerbate when they're in one of those environments, and it really is a real thing. So we'll talk next time about ways you can do to combat that. Oh, my camera's having issues, guys. Um, okay. So there are essential airs. They have essential oils. They have antimicrobial properties. So we will talk about that next time. That can help. Okay, personal care products. This was huge to me because of the eczema. And I started looking at lotions and could not believe what was in them. So, and I have a chemist background, and some of those names are just crazy. And I was like, why is this in a lotion product? So personal care products is really one area that you can control. You may think it's hard. It's not. It's easy. I've been making my own lotion and body butter for over 3 years. It's cheaper. It lasts longer. It's the best moisturizer I've ever used. Um, Shampoo I'm still working on. So, um, lost where I was going there. Okay, so the average woman uses 10 to 12 products in her daily routine a day. That includes 126 ingredients, and 90 of those ingredients have never been tested for safety. So that is crazy. Another study I read said that women can absorb up to 5 pounds of toxins through their personal care products a year. Parabens and phthalates are actually banned in a lot of countries, and the US is slowly picking on. So you're catching up. You can find shampoos and stuff that say paraben and phthalate free. Those will be the better alternative. At least those are excluded. There's no mandate for personal care products other than the drug-like ingredients have to be listed as active ingredients. Other than that, there's like no restrictions on personal care products. So it's really hard to know what is in them that's safe and what is not. So it really is just easier to do it yourself for a lot of these. A lot of them contain estrogen mimicking synthetics and drugs, so it disrupts your endocrine system. A lot of women are already estrogen dominant, so that's just going to push them further into that. For men, increase in estrogen, because you still produce estrogen as a man, can lead to infertility and genital deformation and possibly even cancer. Okay, so a fun one is deodorants. So I just recently switched to a natural deodorant because I am all about the smell. I do not want to stink at all. And you've heard horror stories about natural deodorants smelling so bad. So I was scared to switch, but I did it. And it's not so bad. I have not smelled even sitting in the infrared sauna on the daily. But conventional deodorants are one way that you can really build up toxins because the aluminum that's in them actually blocks your pores and keeps you from sweating, which is a way you eliminate toxins. Um, so here's some common ingredients. You have the aluminum, and it plugs your sweat glands. It can cause hormone imbalances. It's another estrogen mimicker. It's been connected to neurotoxicity as well as respiratory complaints. The parabens, they're the preservative. They actually prevent growth of bacteria and fungus, so they have a good intent, but they are hormone disruptors, and they also mimic estrogen. Phthalates are also commonly in there. Sodium lauryl sulfate is used as an emulsifier. It is suspected as a carcinogen, and it just blocks your body's ability to detox. Fragrance, if you see the word fragrance, just put it down and leave it on the shelf and walk away. Fragrance means is doused with chemicals. So better to just put it down and find a different product. Dryer sheets, I could talk about all day long, but I'm not going to. I'm going to say one thing about them. They contain over 150 chemicals. 150 to keep your clothes smelling good and stag away. I switched to dryer balls, which are like made of wool. It was $12 for four of them. You put your own essential oils on it, throw it in the dryer, you're good. You're not being doused with chemicals and putting it out into the air. Um, Water, I found some very interesting things about. And I'll say this with water. Water gets very complicated, so I'm not going to go way into it. I'm still learning about water. I was using like the typical water filters that you can get over the counter, and I thought it was doing something, but it's really not. It might be removing some fluorine and chlorine, but that's probably about it. It makes it taste good. So I'm still working on it, but I did learn some interesting stuff. So, fluoride and chlorine are two main things you find in most water. Fluoride, while there's very mild evidence that it actually can help prevent cavities, it is not great when ingested. It is a gut disruptor. It causes leaky gut. It creates a lot of havoc in our body because it wasn't intended to be there. It's linked, high levels have been linked to mottled teeth, which people's teeth were turning brown. So for the most part, our water does not contain toxic levels of fluoride in it. But there's been research that if you drink the amount of water that you should in a day, you're getting up to that toxic load of the limit that you should have in your body anyways. So there are communities in Canada, some small ones in the US, Australia and New Zealand that have stopped using fluoridation of the water supply. In Israel, the Minister of Health in 2013 announced a mandatory end to water fluoridation because of all the side effects. So the EPA noted that the side effects and toxic things that were resulting from fluoride were cognitive impairment, hypothyroidism, dental and skeletal fluorosis, enzyme disruption, electrolyte derangement, and cancer. So, fluoride is an enzyme disruptor. It competes with your magnesium and your calcium, so it can mess up your bone formation and your reabsorption of bone. It can cause calcium deficiencies, magnesium deficiencies. It can even cause like ventricular fibrillations, so issues with your heart. And it's not just in your water supply, it can be found in ceramics, Teflon cookware, aerosol products, refrigerants. It's like an unwanted byproduct of aluminum and fertilization. And chlorine is associated with fatigue, heart disease, cancer, renal, thyroid issues. There's also heavy metals that are found in the water supply, which is where all of these expensive water detoxification or home systems come into play. So, those are just some general ways that we are introduced to toxins and that you should be completing a detoxification at least twice a year and slowly working on making detox a part of your lifestyle and trying to avoid what you can and not stressing about the other. Because really, at the end of the day, we want to be healthier so that we're not on medication and we can enjoy life the way we were meant and designed to. So if you have questions, let me know, leave a comment, share this with someone you think might benefit from it. Um, Shelby wants to know what I recommend for a detox. So the one that I use, I there's a lot of them out there, but I really like Standard Process because they use organic food, so it's just easily absorbed in the body. I've been using their supplements forever and love it. So they have a detox that the one we're actually starting in August. This is it. So you would get 3 tubs of this for 28 days, and it's chai flavored, which I wasn't sure I was gonna like, but it was really delicious and it's easy to mix with fruits and avocados and make like a really filling smoothie. You also get a guide that has a ton of recipes and guides for a healthy life. You get put in a group with me, and for 28 days, we all support each other and we learn different ways to live a healthier life. And it is a lot of fun. So, thank you guys for joining me today. I hope this opened your eyes to a little bit of why we should detox. And soon we'll be back and we'll talk about easy solutions to like cleaning supplies and beauty products that you could make at home and not have so much of the toxic load. So I hope you stay cool. It's supposed to be like 110 with the heat index here. Clearly my hair is already feeling it. And just let me know if you have any questions. Y'all have a blessed day.